Game 7, the two greatest words in the sports world. But at the moment, for the Panthers fans, is it really great? Could still be great, but not great, Bob, at the moment. So not just the Game 7, not just a Game 7 with the greatest comeback or greatest collapse, or maybe greatest comeback from nearly having the greatest collapse, but a Game 7 for this panel to debate. Oilers-Panthers. Let's go around the horn. Ooh.
No pressure.
It's the 18th Game 7 in Stanley Cup final history, the third ever in a series that started 3-0, 0-3. The suspense is terrible. I hope it'll last. What Edmonton and Connor McDavid have done to get here, and what's within reach, immortality. And what Florida has been through the last week, hell specifically. But could there be an angel to lift them out tonight? All that matters is tonight. And what fans of both these clubs are going through right now, I cannot imagine. Clinton Yates around the horn to you. How should these teams, how should these fans, how should all the hockey world feel going into tonight?
Well, I can tell you how Oilers fans do feel, because this is not exactly inside information. Well, my cousin Jason lives in Edmonton, and he's been on this for me. And he tells me that this so far, for those that are there, is already a dream season for them. Let's not forget, they've fired a coach this year. They have gotten back in this series. I understand that the Messiers of the world and Connor McDavid never getting to lift an actual Lord Stanley's Cup is part of this. But overall, they are on cloud nine. For the Panthers, however, a franchise that has no real definition in the larger context of what the NHL is, outside of people remembering that they throw rats on the ice or whatever, this is a disaster waiting to happen overall. I would way rather be like those fans getting on a plane to Sunrise in Oilers jerseys, chanting and screaming on a plane in unison than anybody that's rooting for the Panthers by a mile in this situation, reality.
Real quick. Clinton having a cousin who's an Oilers fan, is that inside information?
What are we,
is that expert
It's outside information, actually. It's definitional outside information.
Ben Latta around the horn to you.
Third cousin, fourth cousin, what are we doing?
The moment of tonight.
Yeah, what is a Ute? Other than home teams being 12-5 in Game 7s, I think that Panthers fans should be absolutely petrified about this one. It is almost as though they were in the catbird seat for 3 straight games and just let it fall through their fingers. Are we sure that the goaltenders for these two teams didn't Freaky Friday in the middle of the series? Because they have basically switched. You had Bobrovsky, who we were giving all of the flowers to, who surrendered 12 goals on 58 shots in the last 3 games. Maybe his age has caught up with him a little bit in the middle of the Stanley Cup final. And on the other side, you've got Stewie Skinner, who has been fantastic. 20 saves in Game 6 alone. He deserves all the flowers. I know that the Oilers have been playing really well in front of him. They've been deflecting shots, jamming up those passing lanes, and their speed is giving Florida fits. But all of their confidence right now has been evident on the ice. I think they're in a great position and would not be surprised if they hoisted
All
the
right,
Stanley
I'm
Cup
hearing they're
tonight.
in a great position, and my response is, of course. Yes, they've come down from 0-3. I guess my greater question, David Dennis Jr., as we turn to you here, do you believe in momentum? Do you believe in fate? Do you believe in pressure when it comes to a Game 7?
I don't know about all that, but I believe in Connor McDavid. To Jen's point, yes, the home teams are 12-5 in Game 7s, but they've lost the last 3 Game 7s. There's even more reason for Florida to be petrified and scared of what they have facing them. They did not win that Game 6 where Connor McDavid did not score any points. That's the first time this season the Oilers had won without him scoring. They're 0-5-2 without even having a shot on goal. That you have to win that game. And now you know that Connor McDavid is coming. He is playing like a man of destiny, breaking all kind of records in this playoff and carrying a team that at Thanksgiving, the odds were them to miss the playoffs. He is the certified boogeyman. He is coming to up the score on this team. And they have outscored this Panther squad 20-5 in the last 10 periods.
This is about
and it looks like there's no stopping them.
The best player in the game breaking through tonight. And Pablo, what is tonight about for you?
Yeah, tonight's about me trying to make a case that actually the Florida Panthers are in a better position, Tony. And I'm going to make the argument here, and I believe this argument.
I would love to hear this.
We've been calling South Florida chokers for about a week now. We get it. They get it, right? It's happened. They have choked. So to me, when it comes to pressure, I think about the macro here. Forget about the micro. Forget about all of the names we've talked about, all of which valid points here, except for Jason at Edmonton. That was ridiculous. Everything else is valid. The question, Tony, is what does it feel like when the entire nation of Canada has not won a Stanley Cup in 31 years? To me, there's a bigger picture drought here going on that only Edmonton right now is equipped to actually solve. And so the name that I'm thinking about is not Connor McDavid, it's Leon Draisaitl. Draisaitl, his Batman, his whatever, if McDavid is Superman, here is Batman. Batman hasn't scored a goal in the Stanley Cup final. When is he going to show up? When is the real Leon Draisaitl going to show up is a question that might determine who wins this series and who actually winds up being labeled a choker. And it might be Edmonton if he doesn't show up.
Clinton Yates, I'll let you get back in there.
We don't have to go macro, micro, intro, or outro. The players on the Panthers themselves said that when the cup was in the building, it rattled them, okay? That is direct in terms of what we're talking about here.
Answer the question
Pressure
and give us a
is
pick
real.
tonight. You believe the pressure has mattered in the previous 3 games. You believe it matters tonight. Clinton, who do you got?
I got the Oilers because I think they'll score first.
Jen Latta?
Oilers, because I think the Panthers are spooked.
David Dennis Jr.?
First of all, Pablo, Batman's a superior superhero to Superman, but that's beside the point. Oilers are winning on the back of Connor McDavid.
And Pablo Torre.
What?
Batman is just a billionaire with toys. Give me the Florida
All
Panthers.
right, have we lost the plot here? All right, so there we go. You've got the Panthers. That's 1 for the Panthers. Florida, by the way, it's Roberto Luongo who's banging the drum. Roberto Luongo.
That's a yikes situation for me,
you,
Tone.
yeah, because he had never won a cup, and, well, Florida had never won a cup. All right, there we go.
Vibes awkward.
We'll move on. Sky 88, Fever 87. Aaliyah Boston for the win. Oh. Another tight, electric game between these two teams. This rivalry is pumping. Reese-Clark rivalry is pumping. The control Indy had early and Clark operating, but Chicago's comeback and Clark passing, not shooting late. And Angel Reese's overall monster game, 25-16, and the way she closed it out. Jen, I know it's only your 3rd show, but you can say it as good as any veteran ever has. I was there. Take us there, Jen, with the takeaway from this game.
Yeah, Tony, as the only panelist that was in Wintrust Arena
There
for the
it
game on
is.
Sunday, I can tell you
Okay.
it was an incredible environment. Tons of celebrities, all 4 corners were full, Al McGuire. But when the Sky was down 15 late in the 3rd, Angel Reese took over. From that point on, she scored 15 of her 25 points, 3 and 1 plays. She had at least 5 rebounds to her 16 total. So I think that was because she was allowed to. If there is a complaint or a frustration from anyone who watched that game, and it was about a 50-50 crowd, 50% Fever, 50% Sky, it was that Caitlin Clark was not afforded that same luxury. She did not get the opportunity to shoot. This is a generational shooter who you want to see taking those shots at the end of the game. And I would rather have a contested Caitlin Clark 3 than anyone else on the Fever taking those shots.
Right.
think
I
there's
mean,
a
she had the
situation where
opportunity to
she's stuck.
shoot.
She wants to get along with her teammates.
In the flow of that
And so
game,
she's
it seemed
deferring
like they
to
were
her
worried
teammates.
and thinking about how to distribute the ball as they did. And maybe you think they lost their way a little bit, Indiana, offensively at the end. Clinton Yates, I'm not sure if your cousin was in the arena as well at this game, but please go ahead.
I got a couple cousins in the shot, but I think that this is so fascinating because a week ago you might not have said that Angel Reese was this close to the competition, but now you do. And I'm very curious to see how WNBA voters treat this from a value standpoint. Do you value points from a guard more than you value double-doubles from a big? And I don't know that I have the answer to that question right now. We can look over the turnovers in terms of Clark because that's how their offense runs, but ultimately there has to be something that decides what the difference is going to be in production between these two. And I don't think that it's unfair to say it might come down to wins for these teams. If it just plain looks more exciting, and in a couple head-to-heads you get performances like you did yesterday against Reese, that
All right,
gives
so
her
you're
a chance
solely
to put her
viewing
over
this
the
from the
top.
Rookie of the Year conversation, which is fine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's heightened. It's electric. It was a good game. The
these
game of the
teams aren't
weekend
great.
last night, Pablo Torre, yesterday afternoon, I should say. Your takeaway from it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we're getting all of this action outside of our mentions and on the court. Like, this game was awesome. It was a one-point game. It was a Rookie of the Year affecting contest. And to me, it's the fact that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have both been living up to the hype, Tony, in ways that I think have been obscured by how much there has been all of these larger macro debates. And it's just good to actually get into the basketball argument of it. Caitlin Clark, to me, for whatever it's worth, my money, give me a guard who controls everything on a team and is efficient, relatively speaking, given that context, over somebody who is a really all-star caliber, excellent rebound double-double machine. I'll just take that as a positional proposition. But in terms of how good was this game, is this rivalry real? It is unquestionably, and it's really fun. We're actually getting the substance of it, as opposed to just the banned word narratives.
I see what you're doing there, and I hear what you're doing there. Talk me through the end of this game when Reese took over, David Dennis Jr., and Jen pointed out Clark wasn't shooting the ball. They were distributing, and the Fever let it slip away.
Yeah, Clark didn't get a shot off in the last 7 minutes. I kept watching, wondering why the ball was leaving her hands. Part of that is something that she has to learn as a rookie. Part of it is the game plan that was being handed down from the coach. But on the other side, what Angel Reese did, matching the Indiana Fever total points in the last 11 minutes with 15 and 15, giving us 25 and 15, which hasn't been done by a rookie since A'ja Wilson, taking over that game, turning Alyssa Smith into a Lunchable out there. We saw both of these players have their best game of the season at the exact same time. Clark, Reese just had a little bit more at the end. And to that Rookie of the Year race, as the only panelist who said that this would be close a week ago, I think this is going to come down to the wire. And these two are having like a real on-the-court thing that is going to be hot throughout the rest of the season.
Get back in.
Reese put the team on her back, as she should, but she did so because she's being allowed to do so. I think it's time the Fevers let Caitlin Clark loose, let her start shooting, because the 10,000 people in that arena wanted to see Caitlin Clark.
I hear what you're saying. And
Dennis,
you had said she didn't take a shot the last 7 minutes. I have 2 shots taken by Clark, but she was 5 other players on the court took more shots than her yesterday afternoon. Clinton Yates, last word.
There are teams in this league who passed on Angel Reese. One is in the town I live in. The other is in the town I'm from. Think about that, y'all. How could you do that? Watching it go by.
Still next.
How much geography are we getting from Clinton today?
Enough for
Where
me,
in the world
Playboy.
is Clinton Yates and his family?
Welcome back to Around the Horn, coming to you from the Seaport. Brought to you by Grey Goose.
An MLB game decided by a pitch clock violation. This was a fear when it happened once in the spring last year. It hadn't happened until Saturday. Nats and Rockies, Kyle Finnegan on the mound, and yes, that's an earned run, that's a blown save, that's a loss. And a win for Colorado that they celebrated. Clinton, for a game to be decided like this, is this bad, really bad, or just the way it should be if there's a rule that needs to be enforced?
In this particular case, it's funny. Kyle Finnegan, I guess we'll call it an Irish goodbye, but overall, this is a lesson learned from the Nationals. Work faster. This guy tries to do this, tries to get up against the clock. It costs you a game. Come on, dude, figure it out. This thing has been implemented for 2 seasons now. You would think this would have happened plenty of times before. Alas.
Okay, so you're all right with the rule being enforced like that and the game being decided by it. Jen, how about you?
100%.
hate, loathe entirely. I don't want games decided this way. I don't want elite athletes being forced to speed up at the most important junctures of games. I understand it being a rule. Maybe there's a way to tweak it so that it's early in the game and not in the 9th inning. But it reminds me of Giannis Antetokounmpo in the NBA, who for years now has gotten 10-second violations because it takes him so long to throw for his free throws. It hasn't bit the team in the butt yet, but it very well could in a big game at a critical moment.
So you would prefer it not to be called in a situation like this, no matter the rule? David Dennis Jr., how about you?
I see tweaks.
Yeah. In this moment, we can laugh at Finnegan because this is 9th pitch clock violation. Like, invest in an Apple Watch or something with the clock so you don't have these problems. But in the big issue here is that, as I mentioned before, you should not have this in the 9th inning and beyond. Games cannot be decided like this. Yes, this is a relatively meaningless Rockies game in June, but this can happen to a team in the playoffs where you lose or an important game on a pitch clock violation. That cannot happen. It would be disastrous for any fan
that's
base.
two panelists who say this rule should be tweaked and games should not be decided by a rule. Pablo Torre, how about you?
But there's another solution here, Tony, which is that, one of his teammates or coaches should have intervened. Like, if you know that this guy, Finnegan, of course, should have been awake, as it were. If you know that Finnegan has problems with time, you should be aware that you can, call a mound visit, fake an injury, do something. Don't let you lose a game because the guy has problems with time.
I'm thrown by Latta and then Dennis's argument here that If Giannis were at the free throw line and he took 15 seconds, there would be a violation, rightfully so. No one's giving him a do-over. If Patrick Mahomes has a play clock going down to 0 and takes another 7 seconds because it's a stressful point in the game in the fourth quarter, games have clocks. Other games have clocks. This is the first.
But people don't lose on those things.
They would,
generally, and they give wiggle room. We see a lot of wiggle room all the time. How many times have you seen that delay a game clock in a couple seconds ago? How many times have we seen when Giannis was shooting those free throws and the crowd was counting to 10 and the ref let him go a couple more?
You don't get the shot off by the buzzer of the 24-second shot clock. It's not a shot. We move on. Buy or sell two. Scottie Scheffler wins again, his 6th on tour this year. He had to overcome the chaos and delay of the protesters on the course, and then he had to overcome the playoff with Tom Kim. 6 wins in a year, most by a player before July since Arnold Palmer in 1962. Although all-time seasons, there's plenty more time to rise here for Scheffler. David Dennis Jr., what is Scheffler's year now?
It's an absolutely incredible run. Look, Meredith Scheffler gave birth to their child 2 months ago. And those 2 months, that 2-month-old baby has watched his dad win 2 tournaments. Like, this puts that run into context of what he's doing. It does make me lament a little bit about that PGA Championship and what he had to go through, is how we, ended up in 41st place. We wish that distraction and all that chaos hadn't happened, because who knows what he could have done on that weekend. But other than that, this is just an incredible year for him.
Pablo Torre?
Yeah, what I buy is that the universe appears to be conspiring via various viral videos to make me acknowledge how good Scottie Scheffler is at golf. Because it wasn't enough to be the #1 golfer in the world, of course. It took him in that weirdo altercation with that cop in Louisville at the PGA for me to realize, all right, that's what the #1 golfer in the world looks like. And then here with the protesters about climate
points
change,
for
I'm
saying
like,
you didn't know what you were watching until you were beaten over the head with it?
I'm saying that I now know what this man looks like, and he's good at golf.
This is not about you and how you're viewing the looks of the... Okay, Clinton Yates, please. Let's get us back on track.
I don't have to get that far away from this. I mean, I'm sorry. People have altercations with officers over traffic violations all the time. You know what doesn't happen? Protesters getting on the green at a tournament to the point that you have to have a hole cut for the playoffs. That was completely nuts. For them to keep their composure in a sport where people get upset when you do so much as cough on a backswing, for both of those guys, that was a heck of a job keeping it together. That was wild.
Can we talk about the golfer with 6 wins by July, the most since Arnold Palmer? What is this year, Jen Latta, please?
It's very impressive. There's a great tweet going around that shows win-win, tied for second, win-win, jail, tied for second win, U.S. Open win, just to show how the last few months have gone for Scottie Scheffler. If he wasn't rattled being thrown in jail and having his mugshot smeared over every television in the world, was still able to go out and perform that day, I don't know why we thought that a few protesters and some cans of color were going to shake this guy's composure. What he's doing is incredible. We should all feel very blessed to be with him.
Does any part of you wonder, okay, we're looking at a season that could have 8, 9, 10, 11 wins like we saw with Tiger or Snead or whatever. But this is a year where the tour has been kind of cut in half with the LIV Tour. On the other side of it are those wins as hard to come by. Jen and Pablo, the time is up, but since time is just a suggestion, maybe, Jen, we won't have a deduction here. Guys, there's shot clocks, there's pitch clocks, there's play clocks. The horn goes off, and that's it. It's over. You don't go around the clock. And now the other championship game tonight, and College World Series, Tennessee, Texas A&M. Aggies rolled game 1. Vols came out stronger and held on game 2. Clinton, who should feel better going in, and who you got tonight in game 3?
The Aggies' arms line up well, but for me, I'm going with the Vols and the best player on the field for my money, Christian Moore. We were there when he hit for the cycle in their opening game. He had 12 total bases in that bad boy. I'm going with the Vols.
He was there. And how about you, David Dennis Jr.?
Clinton Yates, let me teach you a little something about baseball. The Tennessee Volunteers are 2 for 20 with batters in scoring position this series. They caught on at the end of game 2, but the A&M has dominated them for most of this series, and a #1 team has not won this championship since 1999. History is on A&M
Wow,
side.
that's a good piece. Who won in 99, David? Who won in 99, David? Do you know?
Clinton Yates, tell him.
I don't know.
It was the Miami Hurricanes, and they're the only one seed that's ever won.
These have a history here because you two were on the show last year when we debated the College World Series in a showdown. Clinton was right, David Dennis was wrong, and that's the score right now. We'll move on. U.S. track and field trials, so many great moments. Among them, Sha'Carri Richardson and Noah Lyles and 16-year-old Quincy Wilson. He hasn't qualified yet, like Richardson and Lyles. One race away, that'll be tonight in the 400. David, what and who has impressed you most?
Sha'Carri and the comeback story is going to be the story of the Olympics, but I cannot let this pass without talking about Noah Lyles busting out the Yu-Gi-Oh card and racing with it in the unbelievable nerdom right
Clinton
there.
Yates?
If you show up to the Olympic trials with your high school's name on the front of your kit and you're burning guys, I'm sorry. You're the man that day, and you're going to be the man this summer.
16! Quincy, that's tonight. He'll be running to qualify for the Olympics. That's a must-watch. 30 seconds of FaceTime. Clinton Yates.
I was in Birmingham last week mourning the passing of one Willie Mays Jr., and people have asked me ever since then, how do I think the big leagues should honor his legacy in a permanent way? Suggestions such as retiring his number across the game have come up. I don't think that works as well because there's not a natural date to do it. However, inside of the Negro Southern League Museum, there's a quote from Ted Williams. It says, "The All-Star game was invented for Willie Mays. He was a 24-time All-Star, 12-time Gold Glover, 2-time MVP. Name the All-Star game after Willie Mays. This is a no-brainer for me for Major League Baseball."
There you go. We'll see you tomorrow.
Talking after